Republicans are hiding and doing nothing to stop the madness. Bryan, it's time to stop Trump, stand up for democracy. I vote.
We are asking you, the Republican Party, and you, Bryan Steil, to grow a spine and stand up to Trump.
And welcome to Franklin. This is an amazing turnout with such a short notice. And just a kind of a funny thing, the gentleman in front of me here approached me over there when I was standing against the wall, and he asked me about the AV. He's like, "Can you turn this down?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't work here." But apparently I look like an AV professional, so I'm glad I have that look tonight. But in seriousness, is when you bring people together like this to make a difference, voices matter, efforts matter, and that's how you induce change, no matter what side you sit on. And I am very humbled to be here tonight and very humbled to be invited here just to give a simple welcome to Franklin. We're a wonderful city, wonderful establishment here, and this is how voices make change. This is where it starts. No matter what side of the fence you sit on is my point. We're all here for the greater good. Anyway, thank you for allowing me to say hello.
Thank you, Julie. Well, welcome, everybody. This is an outstanding crowd. I'm just flabbergasted by it. My name is Dan Mattel. I've lived in Greendale for the past 40 years. And no, Representative Steil, standing over here, I'm not a paid protester. In fact, it would be just the opposite. I'd pay to be here. We're here in Franklin, named after one of our founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin. He was 70 years old when the Revolutionary War started. And that gives me some inspiration. I'm 65, so it's really good to look back on that and see that we all can make a difference. One of Ben Franklin's famous quotes was, "Guests, like fish, begin to smell after 3 days." I'm sure many of you have heard that. Well, Donald Trump, let me remind you that you are just a guest in our White House. And you started smelling after 1 minute there. It didn't take you 3 days. In fact, the odor coming from our White House is just absolutely unbearable. Our founding fathers fought a king 249 years ago. Next year we celebrate the 250th anniversary of our Declaration of Independence. They established a constitution that provides for separation of powers, rule of law, and due process, among many other things. And now we find ourselves in a battle against a would-be king who is trampling our beloved Constitution. So, you can see my thoughts here. So I ask, are we going to stand for that? No. Bryan Steil, I definitely say, hell no. And that gets me to our table of cookies that was, in the entrance there as you walked in. If you happen to spot them, they have a very simple message on them: hell no. We have birds on the wire. I'm a friend of Luann. We like to have a little fun with our messaging. So we thought for tonight we'd get some cookies for everyone to enjoy. Basically, an edible message. Hopefully, the cookies will inspire you to come up with your own hell no message. There's some sample ones out there, but everybody has their own message out there. So, please take one on your way out tonight. We were thinking of giving them out as we sat down, but they're wrapped in cellophane and be a lot of noise and a little bit of a mess. So just please take one home tonight. And then write out your own message when you get home. Whatever it may be, about Social Security, about tariffs, whatever. Write your own message out, take a picture of it, and put it on your social media if you have one. If you don't, just send a picture to your friends. One last thought. Bryan Steil thinks he can hide and not meet with his constituents. But we say, hell no. He thinks we'll just go away quietly in a few weeks. Are we going away? Hell no! And he thinks we'll lose our energy, our determination, and our enthusiasm. So again, I ask you all here tonight, is he right? Hell no! That's right, Bryan. Did you hear that? I think you can hear that back in Janesville. So let's turn that over to our first speaker.
Representative Steil. I'm Lou Ann Bird from Hales Corners, and I am so disappointed that you're not here tonight with at least 150 of us in this room that wanted you to hear our concerns. And I reached out to you every single day for 2 weeks, a couple times a day sometimes, and I never got a response. So my first thing to tell you is that's unacceptable, and I would expect you to at least let us know if you're not coming, okay? That would be the least you could do. Second of all, thank you. Second of all, my husband is paralyzed, and he's a veteran. He put his life on the line for us, and now his health care, we depend on the VA, and that's in jeopardy, and his life now is being threatened by our own president. So I'm asking you very simply, stop the cuts to the VA. I want to tag on to that, and everybody here is agreeing with me. Thank you. That feels great. I also want to say, stop the cuts that the whole Department of Government Efficiency is doing because they don't have the power to do that. So please just stop the cuts. Second. Okay, third, we have the big budget reconciliation bill coming up where you're going to vote on the funding for this year's budget. I want you to know that we expect you to stop giving tax breaks to the wealthy and then looking at all those programs for the poor and the vulnerable and cutting Medicaid. We don't want that. We are against that. And as you can hear, there's a lot of people in this room that agree with me. And finally, we have a president who is no longer following the rule of law. We are concerned about due process. We are concerned about free speech and people everybody here is a little bit afraid. Can I really make my views known? It's very serious, and we are expecting you to protect the Constitution and stand up to this president. Did you get that? Stand up to this president. So, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sally Ann, and I'm from Greendale, Wisconsin. 70 years ago, I entered Marquette University, and I majored in political science. And for 70 years, it has been my hobby, so to speak, to follow politics in this country. I would apologize to have my back to this dummy, but I do think it is a metaphor for what goes on in our Congress today, as well as in the White House. Now, those who do not pay attention to history are doomed to suffer from it, okay? In 1828, we had a depression in this country. In 1929, we had a depression in this country. In 1930, stiff tariffs were put on all goods entering in this country. We suffered through that depression, as your parents or grandparents will tell you, for 10 years plus until we went into the Second World War. And that got us out of the depression. Now, here we are, history is repeating itself. I'm talking to all of you because I don't quite honestly believe that our congressmen will even look at this stuff or pay attention to what it is we're saying tonight. If you're at all concerned, remember the slogan that was on the top of the Washington Post newspaper: democracy dies in darkness. Jeff Bezos took that off the newspaper. He works for us, the dummy. He works for us, okay? We pay his salary. Let's not forget that. We can say to him in another year, you're fired. And it's time we start thinking about him working for us. We need to pay attention. And so I'm appealing to all of you here tonight. It's up to you, it's up to me, it's up to all of us to have what we want. Do we want a depression? Do we want a recession? Do we want the whole world to look down on us? Who in their right mind would possibly break this country the way this man in the White House is doing this day? Thank you very much.
Are we live streaming? Is he watching? Bryan?
There's a microphone right there.
Bryan. Wow, there are a lot of people here. This is amazing. And I think it just goes to show how fed up people are with politicians like Representative Steil, who doesn't listen to anyone. Oh, my name is Kate Duffy. I'm from Greendale, Wisconsin. Happy to be here. So I've been doing this a while, and I have never seen the amount of people come out enthusiastically from both sides of the aisle, all different political beliefs, against what's going on. And Representative Steil needs to watch what is happening and listen to the people. This is about checks and balances. This isn't even about social issues or identity politics or anything like that. This is about the Constitution and having people in office who protect the Constitution, you know, like the thing we're supposed to be based on. This is very, very basic stuff, but Bryan, I'll give you a refresher. We the people, something you and your friends all like to say, we need to listen to that. This is as basic as it gets. People do not want a president defying court orders. Very simple, right? We don't want a president stealing money that Congress already allocated. That's you, by the way. You are in Congress. That is one of the 3 branches of the government, in case you forgot. And that's your job. So we are all here asking you to do your job and stop this tyranny and stand up for the people you represent. Thank you.
Representative Steil, my name is Tracy Buss and I live in Franklin. Today I'd like to speak about international students and their contributions to Wisconsin and the U.S. For 19 years, I worked in the Center for International Education at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. I managed academic programs, advised students, built partnerships with universities overseas, and recruited international students. As you know, international student visas are being revoked. Over 1,700 across 270 colleges and universities as of April 23rd. International students have lost their visas for minor reasons like past traffic violations or brushes with the law that didn't even result in arrest or conviction. Some don't even know why their visas have been canceled. Yes, it is true that studying in the U.S. is a privilege, not a right. That said, these students have the right to due process, and they should not be targeted in a way that is indiscriminate and unfair. Some may say, so what? So what? Why do I care if there are fewer international students studying here? I want my child, my niece or nephew, to take their spots. In reality, we have more than enough capacity for international students to study here, and we need them to do so for the financial health of our universities. In 2023-24, more than 15,000 international students studied in Wisconsin, expending over $540 million. Yeah. We actually cannot attract enough U.S. students to science, technology, and engineering, and the research produced by these programs is vital to innovation and keeping our country at the forefront of technology that benefits us all. What am I asking you to do, Representative Steil? I want you to protect the rights of international students to study here without fear and intimidation. We don't need to make America great again. We need to make America welcoming again. Qualified students should be able to attain visas and not worry about their visas being revoked for unjust reasons. I want you to reinstate support for Education USA, which promotes study in the U.S. I want you to uphold staffing levels at the State Department, since staff are needed in the consular offices that issue visas. I want you to value the contributions of international students, not just to our economy, but to our society. We all benefit from a diversity of perspectives, and the U.S. will be a lesser place with fewer international students. Thank you.
It's always fun following your wife. I'm Tim from Franklin. I had a long career with We Energies. I retired from the City of Milwaukee Environmental Department, and I am a trained scientist. So I'm here to talk about the Trump administration turning its back on funding basic science and politicizing scientific research. The National Science Foundation, or NSF, which funds basic science, but is not alone in doing that, using federal funding, is 75 years old this year, and now he's going to mess with it. Will it survive this administration's assault on science? God, I hope so. If you need one example, 5 years ago yesterday, President Trump got up and told America that it was okay for you to inject bleach into your veins. 5 years ago yesterday. Who needs science, right? I heard recently that the role of government is to do all the things the private sector refuses to do. It's kind of an interesting definition. Garbage, snow plowing, weather forecasts, streets, police, fire, and long-term, forward-looking, basic scientific research. It was basic scientific research funded by the US government that gave us small things like computers, medical cures, airplanes, landing on the moon, vaccines, nuclear power, clean air, clean water, solar power. So simply put, cutting off basic science research in the USA will turn off and turn away the next generation of young American scientists. They just won't be there. It's not worth it. A whole generation will lose. We could import them from other countries, but ICE is currently preventing several of them from entering the country. So yeah, we're screwed. Thanks for listening.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Tim. I was a science teacher, so I have my heart is in science. I just wanted to talk today.
And your name?
Sherry. I'm from Wind Lake.
From where?
I'm from Wind Lake.
Oh, Sherry.
Congressman Steil, I'd like to talk for just a moment about the American dream. When I graduated from college 30-some years ago, Dave Obey, Congressman Dave Obey, some of you know him, he spoke at my commencement ceremony. And I definitely remember those words that he had for us that day, because he basically told all the graduates that we were not going to live the life that our parents had lived. Our means were not going to be as great. He painted a pretty dark picture of what our lives would be like in America. He basically said that the American dream for us was dead, and that was too bad. Well, despite that wonderful send-off into the world for us, I found my calling as a public educator, and my husband found his calling as a City of Milwaukee firefighter. Neither of us made a lot of money, but we saved to pay off my college loans, saved for our first home, saved for cars and school for our kids. We put our money into Social Security and pension accounts for our retirement. I believed we were living the American dream, but sadly, I believe our kids will not. Today, I see my children struggling to live their American dream when, despite having served in the military and having no debt and good jobs, they still cannot afford a simple house, cannot afford to stay home with their children, but also struggle to pay for childcare. This doesn't even take into account the effects Mr. Trump's tariffs on things like groceries, cars, and other products will have. What are you doing about sustaining a working class life for ordinary Americans, Mr. Steil? I don't believe that what is happening in Washington right now is in any way productive for our economy or our future. I never really believed it before, and I hate to say it, but maybe Dave Obey was right. The American dream may just be a dream for most Americans. Secondly, I believe that the person who's running this country is doing a horrible job. The economy is weak. The economy is weak. Our allies have been alienated. Jobs have been taken away. Immigrants and citizens fear for their safety. Numerous mistakes have occurred with regard to immigrant deportation, nuclear facilities, our defense security, and our health system. Not to mention that almost everyone's personal information is being mined and sold by techno geeks under the banner of government efficiency. There's absolutely nothing efficient in what is happening in Washington right now. And what about Wisconsin? What will become of the farming industry? And what will tourism look like this summer? Will our national resources be destroyed by mining in order to obtain minerals or materials for manufacturing? The incompetence and uncertainty of this administration is both reckless and damaging to Wisconsin's economy and its families. Mr. Steil, you are hearing this in part because it's Congress's job to be a check on the other branches of government. Americans have not seen or heard from Congress related to the activities of this president. Your silence is equivalent to the complacency, and that is unacceptable. You were elected to speak on our behalf. We need to and expect to hear and see you speak for us in Washington. Thank you.
Thank you. I have, if there are any remaining speakers from numbers 1 through 10 who would still like to speak, please come up here. Speakers 11 through 20, if you would also make your way up here quietly, as we're going to have someone speak while you're making your way over here.
Hi, I'm Lori McDonald, and I live in Hills Corners. Representative Steil, I'm a constituent in your district, and I'm an entrepreneur. I own 2 businesses, Brilliance Business Solutions, which is an e-commerce agency for mid-market manufacturers and distributors, and Northern Lefse, a small food manufacturer. I've reached out to your office before about tariffs and other concerns, and I appreciate your responses via email. You stated your support for policies that reduce trade barriers and establish rules and procedures that guarantee the free flow of goods around the world, and that's a perspective we share. However, there's growing economic uncertainty that's impacting business confidence and investment. At my company, Brilliance, we've seen multiple projects being delayed and customers hesitant to move forward. That hurts businesses like mine, and I'm hearing the same thing from my peers in the industry. Many businesses are delaying investment decisions, waiting for clarity. The hesitation stems from broader issues. Declines in the bond market and the weakening of the US dollar are unsettling investors and businesses. Dale Kayunga, President and CEO of the Metropolitan Milwaukee Chamber of Commerce, after speaking with 75 area CEOs, recently expressed concern about how tariffs are being implemented. He said, "For a nation founded on no taxation without representation, the fact that we have this level of additional cost placed on businesses and therefore consumers, and it's at the discretion of just the executive branch, is not in the tradition of America." To address this, I urge you, Representative Steil, and your colleagues to reclaim Congress's authority to regulate tariffs. Representative Steil, I encourage you to lead on this. Reasserting Congress's role in tariff regulation would reflect your commitment to our district, reinforce America's credibility as a global trading partner, and strengthen our national economy. I also deeply care about protecting due process, Medicaid, veterans, science, civil rights, and upholding the Constitution. These issues share a common thread. Congress must hold the executive branch accountable and fulfill its responsibility to the American people. You work for us.
Good evening. My name is Maria, and I live in Greendale, and I'm basing my remarks today on the writings of a gentleman named Jim Wright. When one asks why should alleged criminals be afforded due process, the answer is found in just 2 of the 27 grievances the Founding Fathers lodged against the King of England and for which they declared independence. Those say, "For depriving us in many cases of the benefits of a trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses. All of those subject to the jurisdiction of the United States are entitled to due process, to protection under its law and Constitution, period, no exceptions. Natural-born citizens, naturalized citizens, legal residents, visitors, tourists, illegal immigrants. If our government can snatch someone off the street in broad daylight and disappear them into some foreign gulag without protest, without due process, without a trial, without appeal, without consequence, without the law, then they can disappear anyone. If anyone can be declared a criminal without due process, so can your children, your neighbors, so can you. The cornerstone of American jurisprudence says it is better to allow 10 guilty individuals to go free than to convict one innocent person. So to paraphrase, it's better for 100 gangbangers to go free than one innocent man die in a Salvadorian gulag. That we would afford the accused, even of the most heinous of suspected criminals, due process is what once made us exceptional, in a good way. And now we are becoming exceptional in a very bad way. Thank you. James Madison wrote in 1788, "The accumulation of all powers, legislative, executive, and judiciary, in the same hands, whether of one, a few, or many, and whether hereditary, self-appointed, or elective, may justly be pronounced the very definition of tyranny." Thank you.
Sure. My name's Margaret. I'm a resident of Waterford. So this is an homage to Pastor Martine Niemöller. First, they came for federal workers, and I did not speak out because I was not a federal worker. Then they came for air traffic controllers, nuclear physicists, journalists. I did not speak out because I was none of those. Then they came for our national parks, museums, and libraries like this one. And I did not speak out because I'm not a forest ranger, a curator, or a librarian. Then they came for our law firms and judges, and I did not speak out. They came for our universities and protesters, and I did not speak out. They came for our disabled, our veterans, our senior citizens, and I did not speak out. I'm not there yet. Then they came for the researchers at all of our governmental agencies and institutes, and I did not speak out. They came for our allies, our trading partners around the world, and I did not speak out. Then they came for our books, our factual historical information, even our actual word usage. I did not speak out. They came for our food safety, air quality, water safety. I did not speak out. They came for our Department of Education, pulling funding and grants from schools at all levels, defunding special education programs, reshaping accreditation for lawyers, doctors, and grad students, reaching into our K-12 schools to decide discipline outcomes for our kids, and I did not speak out. Then they came for our money, our prices on products due to tariffs, our 401ks, our pensions, and next, our taxes, and I did not speak out. Then they came for our personal information with DOJ, hacking into all of our government databases and hijacking our information, and I did not speak out because I was not doxxed. Well, not yet, as far as I know, probably will be now. But then I came to the realization that all of these things affect me, and they affect all of you too, and you, Mr. Steil. We are citizens of these United States, and the things they're doing to us are reprehensible. They are coming for our democracy, and I feel we must speak out because I fear that if we don't, there will be no one left to speak out for us. We have to stand together. Our federal government is collapsing right under our noses, and our representatives of Washington are doing nothing to stop it. Bryan Steil, what are you going to do about it?
Hi, I'm Nick from Burlington, awed by the people here. Basically, my half page. The Trump oligarchy is constantly moving to eliminate democracy. The Constitution is ignored. People disappear with no due process. The courts are attacked constantly. Women and minorities are erased from websites, and on it goes. Trump promised a group of evangelical Christians a while back that if they elected him in 2024, they would not need to vote again. Pay attention, he promised. Republicans are hiding and doing nothing to stop the madness. Bryan, it's time to stop Trump, stand up for democracy. I vote.
Hi, I'm Kathy. I'm with him, but we're really from Rochester. But that's okay. Don't tell him. He'll find his way home. We are asking you in the Republican Party and you, Bryan Steil, to grow a spine and stand up to Trump. The out-of-control hatchet jobs being done by Trump and Musk have now cut funding to the Women's Health Initiative, founded in 1991, to all of which to save $10 million. What they're not saying is that that program has had a net savings of $35 billion in health and insurance costs, as well as saving the lives of many. The cuts to Medicaid and Head Start, the refusal to fund school lunch programs, all place enormous stress on women and their families, while at the same time, women are supposed to stay home, have more babies, not vote, and not have any presence in the history of this country, all under the guise of eliminating DEI. We have paid more than $20 million just to fly Trump to play golf in the first 90 days of his presidency. What happened to cutting costs? Add up the costs of the haphazard chainsaw work that fires people, then rehires them, then lays them off, and while they pay them to stay home. How does this save money? Add in the millions more in legal costs for the government court cases that are having to be filed against Trump's government across the country. How does this save money? Even more ridiculous are the cost of the makeup studio for Hegseth in the Pentagon. I'm sure he'll look real nice. And the new carpeting, curtains, and the remodeling in the FBI's office. The southwestern border missions and the failed detention centers in Guantanamo Bay have cost close to $300 million through mid-March. We're paying $16 million to detain the legal migrants in El Salvador without giving them due process. Americans in this country have been detained for days illegally, without charging, and without representation. Tariffs are raising the cost for millions of Americans while you debate the size of the tax break for millionaires and big corporations.
Hell no!
Bring home Kilmar Abrego Garcia and the hundreds like him in El Salvador, and release the students being held illegally. Thank you.
Hello, Brian. I'm Keith Roberts from Greendale. This is a district, this is a town hall, and your job is to be here. You are absent, you deserve to be fired. You don't show up for work. Thousands of earnest, responsible public employees with positive job evaluations were fired without cause so that a few billionaires would not have to have their taxes raised. You and your, Brian, you and your Republican co-conspirators are supporting a budget that will not only remove needed services from the shrinking middle class and the growing poverty class, but will also increase the national debt, just so that a few billionaires would not have to have their taxes increased. You stood by silently while Donald Trump destroyed America's international goodwill and soft power that was carefully developed for over 80 years since the end of the Cold War. And this has made and you have made the United States an international villain. You have done nothing. If anyone in Washington, D.C. deserves to be fired, it is you, Bryan Steil.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle. I'm from St. Francis. And normally I don't get involved in politics, but I have become so frustrated with everything going on in the government, I had to be here to speak, and I could spend an hour talking. But I can't stand for a president and the government violating our Constitution of the United States as well as violating laws in the country. It's not right, and he needs to be held accountable for that. There's been multiple cuts, as you've already heard, and loss of jobs. How was that decided, Representative Steil? It seems to be a willy-nilly cut of jobs that are needed in the United States for it to function properly. This happened awful quick. We're within 100 days of your of the presidency. Why aren't the plans transparent? An example would be the Department of Education, which is near and dear to my heart and several of you in this room. I am an educator in higher education, semi-retired, but I'm also a healthcare provider. And Representative Steil states that he is an advocate for education. He isn't showing that by standing up for education. First of all, I can't speak to K through 12 here, but I can talk about the Department of Education. Why do we have to have this totally abolished or disbanded? Representative Steil, are you in favor of this? It should not be dismantled or abolished. That's not going to help anybody because, first of all, Department of Education deals with the quality of the education our students are getting, K-12 all the way through post-grad. In addition, they supply financial aid to the students. We already know our higher education is very costly. This is going to make it worse. An example would be, Representative Steil, this is your alma mater, UW-Madison. They have now cut funding for research, as you all know. 25% of the admissions have been cut. The funding is going to cost possibly an increase in tuition, which will make it harder for people to attend college, which will cripple our American economy. Because of the jobs, they won't be able to get trained to get out there and serve America and keep us a great country that we are.
Hello, everyone. My name's Scott, and I'm here from Franklin. And for almost 20 years, I had the joy of teaching first grade. And one of the best parts of teaching young minds was when I would gather them around on the carpet and try to instill in them the sense of honor and privilege of being an American and in being a citizen in one of the great democracies of the world. And now, I can't believe that just a couple years later, all of that is perilously at risk. And so, if Representative Steil were here, I would ask him, when are you going to start upholding and following the vow that you took when you took the oath of office to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States? If Congressman Steil cared at all about the Constitution, then he would be standing up to the Trump regime and its illegal DOGE cutting of programs like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, veterans benefits, and medical benefits, programs like vaccinations. Because the American people did not vote for these cuts, Congress did not approve these cuts, and so it's against the Constitution. If Congressman Steil cared at all about the Constitution, then he would stand up to the Trump regime and insist on due process for every person in this country, citizen, resident, visitor. Everyone gets due process. That's what makes us a democracy. So in closing, Bryan, one of your former colleagues said that there will come a day when Donald Trump will be gone. But the dishonor of those who enable him will live on forever. And we will remember that dishonor until we vote you out of office. Brian.
Okay.
My name's Kurt Bolton. I'm a resident of Franklin, Wisconsin. I don't think I have a lot to add to what these other people have said, but there are a few things I do want to say. Number one, in the past, I've voted Republican. I've voted Democrat. I'm currently a member of the Wisconsin Green Party. I think that one thing that was true for Republicans, and I don't count the party of Trump as a Republican Party. I think it's been replaced by the party of Trump. Is that they warned us about what comes when the concentration of wealth gets too extreme. Abraham Lincoln said that, and I think it goes all the way through to Dwight Eisenhower. I think the other thing to remember is that we the people are diverse. Not everybody's going to agree with us, and I think that's fine. I think that's what keeps us from getting caught into going to corners that we can't get out of. But that doesn't mean we don't have to listen to everybody else, because the one fact that I think is true is that we the people create billionaires. We the people decide what our government's going to be like. And so we need to stand up and take the fact that, yes, we aren't perfect, but we still believe in what we believe and try and work with everybody within the country to make this a better country, and I don't think that's happening under our current administration. I guess the questions I have for Representative Steil is, number one, as he pointed out, you did take an oath to the Constitution. And I'm wondering if you're going to follow that or if you're going to follow your political party. I don't believe in rule by political party. I think the people should be rulers. I believe in the rule of law, which to me means that everybody gets the same treatment. There are no exceptions for some. It's not government of the people, by the rich, for the rich. And if you don't have the guts to do the things that you hired Elon Musk to do to our government, it's like, why are we paying you? I don't understand. That's it.
Hi, everyone. My name is Fazia, and I'm from Franklin. I've been here for more than a decade. Congressman Steil, I want to highlight an alarming trend we're seeing when it comes to immigration enforcement and due process, a core principle of our legal system that's increasingly being eroded. Take the case of Mahmoud Khalil, a lawful permanent resident married to a U.S. citizen. He was detained due to leading student protests at Columbia University and was then denied the chance to witness the birth of his son. He remains in custody with no clear timeline or resolution. Rumeysa Öztürk, a student at Tufts University, was detained without clear cause and then transported across state lines, disoriented and isolated, just for writing an opinion piece in her university paper. The lack of due process in these cases is chilling, and it sets a dangerous precedent while these individuals and for our nation, the slide into violations of civil liberties is real and can absolutely extend to citizens when constitutional protections are weakened. I am also thinking about the vibrant Franklin Muslim community with children in Wisconsin universities, who are worried about their U.S.-born children exercising their First Amendment rights or being picked up solely because they might not look American. Protect their rights. We hope we'll raise these issues in your work and advocate for restoring transparency, accountability, and justice in immigration enforcement. Due process must not be optional, it must be upheld everywhere. Thank you.
My name is Scott Farnsworth. I'm from Racine, Wisconsin. Mr. Steil, I have to say that I was astounded by your reference to the Congressional Budget and Impoundment Act of 1974 in your response to one of my letters. I naturally assumed that you were unfamiliar with the law, that the entire membership of the Republican delegation to Congress, in fact, was ignorant of the law. given that neither you nor any other Republican in Congress has sought to hold President Trump accountable for his violation of that law. His impoundment of congressionally approved funding is one of only a myriad of violations of laws, processes, and legal notifications, that would take far more than 2 minutes to enumerate, that have been perpetuated by the current administration in the White House. The result has been the creation of utter confusion, confessed mistakes on numerous occasions, and subsequent necessary backtracking that has hurt federal employees, our citizens, and even the very security of this nation. So my question for you is, when are you going to uphold your oath of office and defend the powers given exclusively to the Congress by the Constitution of the United States against the complete disregard of those powers by the current president and his administration? You are running out of time to be anything other than irrelevant.
Hi, I'm Joe Stanishevsky. I'm from Franklin. Representative Stiles, I've called your office several times to question why DOJ is closing down Head Start. They're closing down the Head Start office in Chicago, which services the South Central Wisconsin area and several other states. Here's something about Head Start. Head Start is a federally funded program that provides comprehensive and high-quality early education and health and nutrition services to low-income children and their families. Head Start services 75,000 children each year and provides significant short-term benefits to participating young families. Recent reports have come out that the Trump administration is planning to call for the elimination of Head Start in the year 2026. Representative Stiles, DOJ was not created by Congress, but Head Start was. It is Congress that is supposed to decide funding, not DOJ. Do your job, Representative Stiles, and protect our children. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Vicki. I'm from Franklin, and I'm here to tell Bryan Steil to stop the impoundment of federally funded, congressionally appropriated funds for the National Institute of Health and for scientific research for cancer. My brother was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer in 2017. My brother benefited from cancer research at UW Carbone Cancer Center. They do original research there. They're part of the National Institute of Health research. He was in a 2-year NIH National Institute of Health funded trial. He survived. If he were, as a result of these cuts right now, if he was diagnosed today, he may not survive. There may not be a trial, a clinical trial, or advancements. I spoke with a UW cancer doctor 2 weeks ago, and he said to me, as a result of the Trump administration and the lack of the congressional action due to these funding cuts, young, brilliant minds will not go into the field of research and science or cancer research. Our country will fall behind. The GOP is responsible for the third worlding of medical research in the United States. Third worlding. Ryan, this could be your brother with cancer, your sister, your mother, your child, your grandmother, your parent. So what are we going to do about it? These cuts cannot be. We all need to act, no matter what side of the aisle. This is serious business here.
I'm Jane Willard. I'm from Rochester.
I'm going to call you Bry, as many of you do. I know you call him daily. I do too, so I feel like I have a relationship with you, Bry. And in my experience, Bry, you're a good communicator, sending emails in response to my calls. So I thank you for that. As for the particulars of your communication, you have said, for instance, that you fully support Social Security. You have said that you believe in climate science. Indeed, you serve on a committee about climate change. Surely you know, however, that supporting Trump means that in actuality, you do not support Social Security. You hobble Social Security, and you hobble efforts to deal with climate change. You in fact support initiatives that thwart our efforts to slow down climate change. Thus, your communications are what's called double speak. Yesterday, you wrote to me about immigration. You said, and I quote, "We need policies that uphold the rule of law, that addresses our workforce needs and is fair to those who follow the rules." You then said in the letter that among those deported were members of the violent South American gangs. Among those deported. You perhaps have not read the in-depth reporting of Julie Turkowitz and others of the New York Times, which has shown that a high percentage of those people are very likely not criminals. And in any case, none of them, as we all know, and you know too, Bry, had due process. So my immediate question to you is, if you say you support the rule of law, how can you in good conscience support an administration that is, as we all know, disappearing people? I ask you to talk straight to us. Tell us if you are afraid. Tell us if you're afraid, as brave Lisa Markowski did. Or tell us what seems to be true, that you are in actuality all in for supporting this inept, highly destructive, and I'm using polite words here, president, as you have done now for 93 shameful days. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ginger, and I live in St. Francis. Congressman Steil, even though you're not here, I do appreciate the opportunity to voice my disgust at what is happening in our government. I hardly know where to begin. I only have 2 minutes. First of all, let's just ban the use of the word woke. It's probably, you use it because you don't know how to spell empathy or compassion. Also, let's put the 2000 election to rest. There's been no evidence of voter fraud. Enough already. I disagree with your vote on the SAVE Act. There already are mechanisms in place to ensure that only citizens are voting. There are many more pressing issues to devote your time to. Congress must address election funding. The amount of outside money that was spent on our Supreme Court election was obscene. It needs to stop. Where is your outrage at the security lapses of our defense secretary? Remember when Hillary's email server was in? Congress went ballistic. This is so much worse. And yet no one seems to care, especially you. Our Constitution was designed to balance the power of the 3 branches. As you know, Congress is the lawmaking branch. So why are you rolling over and letting our democracy become a government of executive order? The tariff plan and its subsequent rollout was laughable. We are the laughingstock of the world. Aren't you concerned? Allowing a non-elected individual to decimate our government. Yes, there might be waste in some of the programs, but many of the programs were working to serve the marginal of our neighbors. Fix the waste and keep what is working. It seems to me that the focus is to take away from the poor and give it to the rich. Exactly. This is wrong. We've heard so many examples I'm going to talk fast, okay? 2 minutes is not enough. Please do not allow the tax breaks for the ultra-wealthy to continue. Everybody must pay their fair share. But what really scares me is the complete disregard our president has for the court system. He appears to truly believe he is above the law and is targeting anyone who disagrees with him. Thanks for listening. Even though you're not here, I ask you to stand up in solidarity with your constituents against the madness. Thank you.
My name is Jean Havey, and I'm from Oak Creek. My first little foray into politics was when I was in the 5th grade, and I got a letter from Clem Zablocki. Some of you people might know that name, most of you maybe not. Anyway, the things that we are asking Bryan Steil to do, to consider, all of those things right now in the state of this country's politics require courage. Exactly. Obviously, a man who doesn't have the courage to come to this meeting and listen to his constituents doesn't have the kind of courage it takes to stand up to Donald Trump and the people behind him. Now, all of the things that everyone's talked about totally are important to me, and I'm sure to all of you. As I look around the room, I see some gray hair. Well, yeah. So a lot of these people, I know that things like Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security are high on our list. Tax cuts for the wealthy. This country has 800 billionaires, maybe 825 right now. 73 million people on Social Security. Now, how in the world could anybody think it's right to take money from 73 million people who depend on Social Security and give it to 800 billionaires? That makes absolutely no sense to me. The state of Wisconsin has 8 of those billionaires and 1.3 million Social Security recipients. Do they really need my money and your money? They are perfectly capable of taking care of themselves. And the thing about those people, they don't need the government. They don't depend on it. They don't need it. The rest of us do. We need it. We care about it. We've built it. We want to keep it.
Hi, my name is Peggy, and I'm from Franklin. And I want to share my anger with you over Representative Steil, who ghosted us tonight and refuses to function as a representative that we pay his salary for, we pay his pension, we pay his health care, and he does nothing for that. When I call him, which is almost every day, and sometimes twice a day, I remind him that he is working for me, not for Trump, not for the mega Doge Musk, not for Vance, not for Rubio, none of them. He's working for me and for the rest of the Wisconsin citizens in District 1. And I keep reminding him that if he doesn't do his job, he's going to lose his job. And that I will be on the forefront of doing this. I applaud every single one of you that have spoken today, because you've stated all the things that I wanted to talk about. But the most important thing that I could add is my anger over his lack of functioning, his lack of standing up to Trump, Johnson, who is the Speaker of the House. I see Representative Steil acting as a minion to all of them. He has no backbone, and I tell him every single time I talk to him, get a backbone, stand up, do what you're supposed to do. You've got a job, get it done.
It's 7:05, and we would like to have any speakers between 30 and 35 come up to the front, okay?
Okay. Hi, I'm Diana from Rochester. I am a high school dropout. I am an uneducated person. I had a father who was a Marine, and I raised a son who became a Marine. And my father taught me that when you see something wrong happening and you don't do anything about it, you are just as bad as that person who is doing the wrong deed. I taught this to my children, and they are both college graduates and both successful people. And I just thank you for your time. I think it's time to go. It's all been said.
Good evening, Representative Ann Franklin. My name is Maureen Conrad. I am a member of the Milwaukee County Commission on Aging's Advocacy Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of Milwaukee County's 190,000 older adult residents. It is a travesty that our government would consider reductions in funding and programs to Medicaid. Wisconsin has a rigorous process to ensure that all people who apply or renew their Medicaid coverage prove that they are eligible for the program. First and foremost, Wisconsin has a near zero eligibility error rate. There's no fraud. There can be mistakes, and you all know paperwork and phone calls and timelines and just reaching people who have moved can hold things up somewhat. Wisconsin has 1,400 workers who check and verify every application and renewal before those people can get or stay in Medicaid. People apply or renewing Medicaid coverage must provide that proof of identity, income, assets, and other items like their disability. Every year, everyone in Medicaid must renew and provide verifiable proof that they still meet the criteria for the Medicaid. All 1.2 million currently in Wisconsin's Medicaid programs meet the financial and other criteria needed to be allowed in, and they must keep proving that they meet the criteria annually, not every 6 months as being suggested. The only people who are in Wisconsin's Medicaid program are people who have proven their eligibility. I'm a social service coordinator in independent living for seniors and persons with disabilities in St. Francis. In our HUD subsidized building, 36 of the 48 people in one building are individuals with Medicaid. Many are living on less than $1,000, and that's before they pay their rent. They rely on the subsidies and vouchers to survive without the support of nutrition, transportation, caregiving, and medical assistance. They would be on the street or in the nursing home or die in their home. Many of these people have done minimum paid service jobs in our society, and when the aging population is booming, there should be no doubt about funding these supports. So please continue to support these programs, and I would like to continue a positive partnership with you, Mr. Steil.
Hi, my name is Lynn Bogart. I live in New Berlin. There have been so many deplorable actions by the current administration that had a serious problem deciding what to speak about. I finally decided to limit my remarks to a big one. Why is Congress, and that includes you, Bryan Steil, allowing the president and his administration to disregard the Constitution and the rights it guarantees? The president upholding the Constitution should not be a partisan issue. It is an American issue. So whether you are Republican, Democratic, a member of the Green Party, whatever, you should have a problem with this. The president took an oath at his inauguration to faithfully execute the office of President of the United States and to the best of his ability preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. Impeach Trump! Exactly. Yet I stand here today to protest the fact that the president has broken this oath multiple times. When student protesters here on student visas were arrested and deported for exercising their First Amendment rights. When he deported plane loads of immigrants to El Salvador CCOT without due process. According to the 14th Amendment, any person, A-N-Y, any person, yes, is prohibited to provide any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of the law. Let me be clear. The 14th Amendment says any person, not any citizen. If these immigrants are guilty of criminal behavior or are gang members, let the administration and the courts prove it in a court of law. A judge ordered Trump to turn the planes around and he ignored this order. The Supreme Court ruled he must do all in his power to bring Obrego Garcia back, and he has ignored that order. It is clear that Trump believes he is above the law and is not going to abide by our Constitution, listen to the judicial branch of our democracy. He has also overreached in many executive orders. For example, he does not have the authority to rescind funding that has already been approved by Congress. As a member of Congress, you need to vehemently object to the president's unconstitutional and unlawful actions, his blatant dispersal of misinformation, and his attempts to undermine the powers granted to the judicial and legislative branches. We have 3 branches of government so that there are checks and balances. Without them, we become an autocracy, not a democracy. And I truly don't believe that's what we, the people, voted for.
Hello, my name is Lynn, and I'm from Mount Pleasant. I am very angry that we have Representative Stiles silent here, and he has been silent in office. I'm a grandmother. Do we have any other grandparents here? We do. And I'm appalled that my granddaughter, 5, her quality of life isn't what mine is and what my parents were. I'm a mom to 2 boys in their 30s. Neither of them can afford a house. It really makes me sad that I was able to get a house and they can't. I have an 87-year-old mom. She's doing great, and I'm really happy about that, but that's not the case for everyone. On all of these points, you remain silent, but we are the voters, and there will come a point of voicing our opinions, and I will not be voting for you. I also want to say that for the past 20 years, I work as a fraud resolution specialist for one of the credit bureaus. So every day, 40 hours a week, I talk to victims of identity theft. I see what they go through every day, and I help them clean up the mess. The thought that we allowed, or you allowed someone to go into our private databases like you did. They had no vetting, no clearance, and I just find it all appalling. Lastly, when I was sitting there, I was thinking to myself, is there one thing I agree with? The national parks, just anything. And honestly, I couldn't come up with one thing that I agree with that's going on.
Can I ask you a question? Because I've been told we should all file a Freedom of Information Act to find out what they know about us. Do they have our names, our addresses, our phone numbers, our social security numbers? We'll talk.
Yeah, the question was about the Freedom Act to know what your information. And
You can share
that's,
information.
that's another thing. But everybody should put a security freeze on all 3 credit bureaus. That's the best thing you can do to protect yourself from becoming a victim. It's free, and just look it up.
Hi, my name is Anjana, and I live in Franklin. I'm here, of course, in my personal capacity, but I'm a professor at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. And the truth of the matter is that I was a little scared to come talk here, because we know that the Trump administration has a penchant for retaliation.
Yes.
And we also know that one of the first institutions that authoritarian leaders go after is education. But I'm here to speak because I want to speak for those whose voices have been taken away. International students enrich my classrooms every single day. They are hard workers trying to get an education and improve their lives and coming to the United States because the United States has historically had one of the best higher education systems in this world. But in addition to all the usual fears that or the stresses they're experiencing right now at the end of the semester, trying to get done, trying to get through their finals and write all their papers, they are scared. They are scared of having their visas revoked, of being detained, of being disappeared, of being deported capriciously and arbitrarily for doing absolutely nothing. I have seen the fear and the tears in their eyes. And so I'm here to tell you to stop. Stop attacking our international students. Stop assaulting our educational institutions. I have here with me, back there, I have my almost 10-year-old daughter. She's an elementary school student here in Franklin, and in her years, she has experienced racism. Racism, sexism, homophobia, ableism, these are all real, and we need to teach our students about it. We need to teach our students the real histories. I do not understand when diversity, equity, and inclusion became bad words. As educators, we are not indoctrinating students. We are teaching them the realities of the world around us so that they can navigate it and improve it. Stop attacking us, preserve academic freedom, stop attacking our students and our educators and our educational institutions. Thank you.
Well done.
Yeah, okay. My name is Carrie. I'm from Hales Corners. I am the daughter of an attorney, and when I was a journalist, my beats were police and courts. So I have a very strong sense of law and it being adhered to. So, for Mr. Steil, our president is violating numerous constitutional laws and federal laws and statutes. First Amendment rights by withholding congressional approved funds for higher education institutions based on, let's squelch freedom of speech, because that's what our higher education does. It opens up freedom of speech. Trying to end birthright citizenship as defined in the 14th Amendment. These are the constitutional issues. Arresting people who are here legally. Firing fraud-finding inspectors general without notice or rationale. Compounding funding grants made by the NIH and other research institutions. Violating emoluments clause. Not the least of which includes the millions in personal financial gain from government-financed golf events. Those are the constitutional-related laws. Some of the federal laws, ignoring the numerous judicial orders, shutting down independent agencies such as USAID and Institute of Peace. And I don't know if you saw what happened with the Institute of Peace, but they came in like ninjas and shut that down, and they had no right. It's an independent agency. Granting private individuals access to sensitive government systems. And we're not talking just about the Doge boys here. We are also talking about when Hegseth has his little pals on formats that should never be accessed by unvetted citizens. Ignoring the due process, we've talked about that today. Detaining U.S. citizens. I mean, that's the one where we've had numerous accounts of U.S. citizens who have been detained because someone thought they weren't. I mean, you want me to finish? Okay. Last thing, firing Democratic members of National Relations Board before her term was up. The law states members of that independent board may be removed only, quote, upon notice and hearing for neglect of duty or malfeasance in office, but for no other cause. Mr. Steil, you aren't going to get my vote either. Sorry, dude.
Okay, so we have one speaker remaining.
My name is Brittany. I live in Milwaukee, but I am from your hometown, Janesville, Wisconsin. Hence the irony, right? But with that being said, I want to say this one phrase quickly. Remember the teachings and the values that our government teachers and our history teachers down those wonderful halls of Joseph Albert Craig High School taught us, that from the big giant Italian guy who would cuss you out if you did something wrong to the short guy who would always be about the environment and taking us out to help save the environment around the world. For me, going through all of this and going through all of this right now, I'm thinking, where are we going and who are we? Because I want to know what the guy who taught the General Commander of the United States military would think. I also want to know what your predecessors, the same question for the teacher who taught your predecessor. I actually kind of know the answer, but you wouldn't like it. Because you already knew his mouth. So, with that being said, that's all I have to really say, and I just want you to remember the values, remember the teachings that AP government teacher that has taught us, has made us do election polls, worked the streets to poll and give us the understanding of the United States Constitution, and took us to the Pentagon and let us sit in the office of the General Commander of the United States.
Thank you all. Completely overwhelming response and terrific, heartfelt comments tonight.
Okay, we have one more little action that we have to take tonight, and here's what it is. I'm going to be calling Representative Steil's office here, okay? We're gonna call him, and we're gonna tell him he should be here tonight. Okay, so after I say, hello, we're all here, why didn't you come? Would you join me? And, we're just gonna say, here's where we're at with your, Congress. We own you, we own it. We are changing it. You work for us. Could you, when I give you the cue, join me and let's tell him that, okay? All right, let's call Bryan Steil right here.
Hello, this is Bryan Steil. Thanks for calling our Washington, D.C. office. I'm sorry we missed you. Our office hours are 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Central Time. Please leave your name and number and a short message, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks again for calling. On Wisconsin.
Representative Steil, it's me, Luann from Hales Corners again. I'm here with about 150, maybe more, of your constituents, and we're really disappointed that you didn't show up tonight. But we do have a bit of a message for you. We think that we own it. We are changing it. Bryan Steil, you work for us. Thank you. All right, please represent us, Bryan.
Everybody say we'd rather have Harry Styles.
Oh my gosh, yeah, feet forward and everything.
Yes, I love the sneakers. 1, 2, 3.